In his later years, he accomplished his dream of retiring from politics and the military to become a monk. Now, Pope Clement V had asked him to write a history of the lands to the east of Europe. He had seen some of these lands himself. His uncles could tell him about others. He thought about where to begin. The kingdom of Cathay, China, was unusual and one of the richest in the world. He began to dictate to his secretary about their practice of using pieces of paper as money rather than coins of silver or gold. As for the money which this people uses, it's made of sedge, grass-like plants, and shaped square and bears a royal stamp, and it is based on this stamp that the money's value is determined, great or small. If the money becomes worn through age, they take it to the royal court and exchange it for fresh money. Economic growth. Guiding question. How did Chinese economy change under the Tang and Song dynasties? The fall of the Han Dynasty in the 200s CE crippled the economy of China. Widespread fighting destroyed farms and cities. Farmers faced poor harvests. Artisans made fewer products, and merchants had fewer goods to trade. Under the Tang Dynasty, China's economy prospered. Farming improvements. After taking power in 1618 CE, the Tang gave more land to farmers. Farmers made many advances in farming these large plots of land. They developed improved irrigation methods, which increased the growth of their crops. When the Song came to power in 960 CE, they continued the land and irrigation reforms of the Tang. The Song introduced champa rice from Vietnam, which grew rapidly and well in poor soil. This new variety produced more rice per acre and resisted disease. While Tang farmers grew tea, Song farmers produced even greater quantities, which fed demand for the increasingly popular drink. New farming technologies like iron plows and water wheel irrigation helped cultivate new irrigated lands, and made food more available during the Tang and Song eras. Because more food was available, China's population increased as well. People began to settle in new areas, which then developed into cities. Groups of farmers moved from the north to the south to southern China. They grew abundant amounts of rice in the Changjiang Valley. Why did China's trade grow? Tang and Song rulers built roads and waterways, including 30,000 miles of canal. As a result, travel within and outside China became much easier. Chinese merchants increased trade with people in other parts of the world. After years of decline, the Silk Road reopened and thrived. Caravans traveled along it, carrying goods from China to other parts of Asia. Silk fabric was one of the goods traded by the Chinese. Silk was in high demand in areas west of China. In addition, China traded other products such as tea, steel, paper, and porcelain. Porcelain, invented during the Song dynasty, is made of fine clay that is baked at high temperatures. It is used to make dishes, vases, and other items. In return for Chinese products, countries sent goods such as gold, silver, precious stones, and fine woods to China. Other trade routes were also opened. Roads connected China to other parts of Asia. In addition, the Tang opened new seaports along China's coast to increase change. Technological advances. During the Tang and Song dynasties, new discoveries and inventions brought change to Chinese society. In time, these technological advancements spread to other parts of the world. Coal and steel. Important changes took place in the use of fuels and metals. For most of their history, the Chinese burned wood to heat their homes and cook their food. By the 600s CE, less wood was available in China. The Chinese, however, discovered that coal could be used as fuel. This discovery led to the development of a coal mining industry. The Chinese used coal to heat furnaces to high temperatures. This process led to another discovery. When iron was produced in coal heated furnaces, the melted iron mixed with carbon formed the coal from the coal. This mixing created a new, stronger metal known today as steel. The Chinese used steel to make many different products. They made armor, swords, and helmets for their armies. They also produced stoves, farm tools, and drills. Nails and sewing needles were made from steel as well. The invention of printing. Paper had been invented during the time of the Han Dynasty. Under the Tang, paper was produced in large amounts. In the following centuries, paper and paper making spread through Asia and to other parts of the world. The manufacture of paper led to another important Chinese invention, a method for printing books. Before printing, books were copied by hand and were very expensive. Chinese Buddhist monks began woodblock printing in the 600 CE. In woodblock printing, printers used a wooden block for each page they needed to print. They carved the page's Chinese characters into the block. Then they put ink on the block and pressed a piece of paper onto it. The printers rubbed the sheet of paper to transfer the Chinese characters onto the page. Each wooden block could be used to make thousands of copies. The earliest known printed book dates back to 868 CE. It is the Buddhist book called the Diamond Sutra. Even though woodblock printing was a major advancement, changes could not have been made to a page after the woodblock was carved. In the 1000s, during the Song Dynasty, a Chinese printer named Flourishing solved this printing problem by inventing movable type. With movable type, each character is an individual piece. The pieces can be arranged to form sentences and used again and again. Flourishing made his pieces from clay and put them together to make book pages. Printing also led to the invention of paper currency. During the Tang Dynasty, rice production and trade greatly increased. Chinese traders needed more money to carry out their business. The Chinese already produced copper coins, but they could not make enough coins to support the empire's economy. In 1024, during the Song Dynasty, the Chinese began to print the world's first paper money as a way to benefit traders. It still had the value of coin money, but it was lighter to carry. The use of paper money helped the economy and cities grow. Gunpowder and ships. Gunpowder was another Chinese invention created during the Tang Dynasty. Gunpowder was used in explosive and weapons such as the fire lance. This invention works somewhat like a gun. It could shoot a mix of flames and objects a distance of 40 yards. The fire lance helped make the Chinese army a powerful fighting force. The Chinese also used gunpowder to make fireworks. Different Chinese inventions helped increase long-distance trade. The Chinese built large ships with rudders and sails, which helped with steering. About 1150, Chinese inventors in the Song Dynasty perfected the magnetic compass. This compass helps Chinese sailors navigate their ship's location and sail further from land. As a result of these inventions, the Chinese were able to sail to Southeast Asia, India, and other places to the west. In time, many of these Chinese inventions would have great effect on Europe. For example, printing made it possible to publish books in large quantities. Gunpowder changed how wars were fought, and the magnetic compass enabled Europeans to explore the world. Literature and the arts. The Tang and Song dynasties were a golden age of Chinese culture. The invention of woodblock printing helped make literature more available and more popular. Art, especially landscape painting, flourished during this period. Chinese rulers supported artists and writers. They invited them to live and work in the capital city of Shanghai. The age of poetry. The Tang Dynasty is regarded as the great age of poetry in China. The best known Chinese writers of this time were poets. Chinese poets often expressed a Taoist appreciation of the world. They wrote about the beauty of nature, the changes of the seasons, and the joys of friendship. They also expressed sadness at the shortness of life. Li Bao was one of the most popular poets of the Tang Dynasty. Known for leading a carefree life, Li Bao wrote poems about nature. His poem below is one of the best known poems in China. For years, the Chinese have memorized it. Its title is Alone, Looking for the Mountain. All the birds have flown up and gone. A lonely cloud floats leisurely by. We never tire of looking at each other, only the mountain and I. Another favorite Tang poet was Du Fu. He was a poor civil servant who faced many hardships. During Du Fu's lifetime, civil war raged throughout China. Food was scarce, and Du Fu nearly died of starvation. As a result, Du Fu often wrote about issues such as the problems of the poor, the unfairness of life, and the wastefulness of war. Du Fu wrote the poem below after an uprising left the capital city in ruins. Behind those red gates, meat and wine are left to spoil. Outside lie the bones of people who starved and froze. Landscape painting. During the Song Dynasty, many Chinese artists painted landscapes. However, they did not try to show the exact appearance of places. Instead, they tried to portray the idea of mountains and lakes and other scenes. They left empty spaces in their paintings on purpose. This style reflects the Taoist belief that a person cannot know the whole truth about something. Taoism is the belief that people should turn to nature to give up their worldly concerns. Taoism also influenced the way people are portrayed in landscape paintings. Humans are shown as very small figures in a natural landscape. The paintings express the idea that people are part of nature but do not control it. People are only one part of a much larger natural setting. Chinese painters often wrote poems on their works. They used their brush and ink to write beautiful characters called calligraphy. Porcelain. During the Tang Dynasty, Chinese artisans became skilled in making porcelain. As you may recall, porcelain is a ceramic made of fine clay baked at very high temperatures. Because porcelain later came from China to the West, people today sometimes call porcelain China. Porcelain can be made into figures, vases, cups, and plates. An Arab traveler in 851 described Chinese porcelain. There is in China a very fine clay from which are made vases having the clearness of glass bottles. Waters in these vases is visible through them, and yet they are made of clay. Methods for making porcelain spread throughout other parts of the world. They finally reached Europe in the 1700s.